America conducted a test of a nuclear missile. The launch took place in California from the Vandenberg Space Force Base. The missile was without a warhead. The launch was indeed conducted with a standard U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile, the Minuteman III, which is a key component of the American nuclear triad.
Land-based nuclear warheads have historically been characterized in the U.S. as the most rapidly responsive to threats.
How did the tests of the main nuclear umbrella of the entire planet go, and how did the Kremlin react to them? What is the capability of the American Minuteman III missile? Can Washington's adversaries, particularly Moscow, shoot it down? And what is being prepared to replace the legendary US ballistic missiles? All about this right now in Arsenal. The Minuteman missile family has been guarding America's defense since 1970 and has been a crucial part of it. Adopted during Richard Nixon's presidency, they have been ensuring the security of the United States and its allies for more than half a century.
Land-based nuclear warheads have historically been characterized in the U.S. as the most responsive to threats. Therefore, we have 3 types of warheads and 450 intercontinental ballistic missile launchers across the United States, which are in a state of daily readiness, and prepared to defend both the United States and our allies.
For over 50 years, the Minuteman has remained the primary land-based nuclear missile of the US. However, over these years, it has undergone dozens of modernization phases, and today, the US has third-generation warhead carriers. In particular, the missiles are constantly updated with new guidance, the control systems, and even the launchers themselves. Moreover, after each modernization, the US regularly conducts test launches.
The testing program is simply essential for the maintenance and servicing of the missile fleet. Because without testing them both in flight and in field conditions, we would never know if there are any issues with the equipment we are working with. The daily maintenance of the weapon system's operability should demonstrate that it is safe, effective, and reliable.
Since the beginning of such experimental launches, the main goal for the US has not been to intimidate enemies, as is done in Russia, but simply to test the technical solutions used in the Minuteman. Therefore, the missiles are launched not at test sites to later film a huge crater, as happens in Kazakhstan, but over the Pacific Ocean, ensuring maximum safety.
The Test Evaluation Group of Air Base 377 is responsible for testing the intermediate phase of the flight. Our goal during operational test launches is to verify the system from initial ignition to splashdown.
By the way, thanks to such tests, the US can actually confirm the characteristics of its intercontinental missiles, unlike the strictly classified and often not meeting the declared specifications of Russian counterparts. So, the range of the Minuteman in its third modification is about 9,500 kilometers, which was confirmed during test launches in 2008. To be fair, it should be noted that not all American launches go smoothly. For instance, in 2011, there was a failure when attempting to issue a launch command from the Boeing E-3 Mercury, a communication aircraft. The missile only lifted off the ground after a repeated command from the ground control station. A month later, in the same year 2011 and later in 2018, the missile deviated from its target, which necessitated its destruction mid-flight over the Pacific Ocean. And this is despite the fact that each launch in the USA is approached extremely meticulously, individually assembling each rocket sample before attempting to launch it, Only in the case of complete success is the suite of updates integrated into the active munitions that are in service.
This targeted program provides a platform through which we can observe all the flight characteristics of the weapon system, from the ignition of the first stage to splashdown during a test launch, up to a full assessment of the weapon system, so that we can confidently assert that the weapon system is operational, reliable, or if something is wrong, we can identify and fix the issue.
The testing process begins with assembling all the elements into one mechanism. For security reasons, different components of the missile are manufactured at different facilities.
We usually receive the components about 120 days in advance, and from that time the processing of components and equipment begins to modify them for our purposes.
A separate group of individuals is directly involved with the combat element. In special aerodynamic tunnels, it undergoes dozens of trials and tests before being installed on the missile.
Here we service the warhead, we check, repair and test all its components and assemble a carrier for it. After all, the missile's tip primarily affects the delivery system into the atmosphere and the flight itself.
The entire electronic system is also checked just as thoroughly, because if there is a failure in any of the elements, an intercontinental nuclear missile turns into just a huge dummy that won't detonate. The consequences for the USA, should it decide to use such a weapon that subsequently fails, would be simply catastrophic.
We have a special and secure room specifically designed and constructed for certified nuclear equipment. We have assembled a lot of auxiliary equipment here that supports the mission, including engines and life support equipment. We have something special called the gas filter compartment. It allows us to sequentially start the engines, and it prevents harmful gases from entering the upper part of the compartment. Our task is to ensure that all of this is in working condition.
The seriousness of the approach to testing, among other things, is indeed demonstrated by the fact that launch parameters can even depend on wind gusts or, for instance, clouds that will be in the launch or impact zone.
I coordinate my actions with various agencies, including seismologists and the Meteorological Safety Service. In case of changing weather conditions, we will immediately receive a phone call and be able to adjust the launch based on the received data.
When all the data is collected, the most crucial moment arrives. The red button is pressed.
We are here to conduct a test launch. The whole world is watching how these test launches are conducted. So everyone sees our work as well as our allies and adversaries. And the whole world can see that we can drop bombs on target accurately and on time.
As of 2008, it was known that the United States had 450 Minuteman III missiles and 550 nuclear warheads for them. Since then, the information has not been updated. It is believed that the number of missiles has not increased.
I will say that our nuclear triad and intercontinental ballistic missiles are used every day. Right now, just as it has been for half a century before this, we have pilots, maintenance personnel, and military staff who carefully monitor deterrence daily. Therefore, the main value is the ability to resist and deter the enemy, which they provide to the president to ensure that no one attacks the United States. These roles are crucial.
It is worth noting that the United States, after 54 years of deterrence with Minuteman missiles, has recently decided to completely change its nuclear concept. Missiles from the 70s are to be replaced by the missiles of the future. This project is known as Sentinel.
The system represents a kind of evolutionary improvement in terms of support, operation, and protection of these launchers. In fact, it is a transition from analog to digital format so that our specialists can work with all the achievements and technologies we have developed over the past half-century. When we transition from the Minuteman III missile to the Sentinel system, in my opinion, it is the most complex rearmament process since the Eisenhower program. This is a large-scale operation across the United States, sane, during which we must maintain full operational readiness for missile deployment while transitioning to the new type of armament.
Did you definitely like the video? Then don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our new and exciting Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.